everybody, welcome back. I have finally seen the first two episodes of the new Wheel of Time show, so we're going to talk about it. So thanks to everybody who's been patient. As if you've seen what's on my update video, you know that I have been ridiculously busy with university recently and have not had any time to film, edit, nor watch Wheel of Time. However, my deadline for one of my modules was yesterday, which means I have a heck of a lot more time. So what did I do yesterday? I watched the first two episodes because I'm so excited to watch this show. And yeah, so I'm going to talk about the first two episodes today. I'm going to go away once I film this, watch the next couple of episodes, and so on and so forth until I'm kind of caught up, and then hopefully, you know, we'll be able to get a little series of videos out of this. So let's just talk about the episodes. Just for context, if you don't already know, I have never read the books, and I deliberately have done that. You know, usually I do try to read a book or two before I watch a show adaptation, but just for fun, I decided I would actually make it that the show is my first experience with this world, and then I'm going to go into reading the books once I've seen series 1. And yes, let's talk about my initial first impressions. A lot has gone down. I've been introduced to so much, and I'm really enjoying it. Like, I'm absolutely having a great time watching this. Like, there's a whole bunch of characters and I like all of them, especially Moraine. I think she is definitely my favourite so far, and she's just so interesting, and I just cannot wait to find out more about her. I like that she's both like the kind of wise, mystical sort of witch, but she also has like a sort of sense of superiority, but she's still kind and does not, and like, you know, still like is taking care of the people that she's with and things. Like, I just think she's such an interesting character, and I just really am so excited just to find out more about her and see how she develops as the series goes forward. And the Aes Sedai are really interesting as well. I like that they're being built up in these first couple of episodes. Like, the only Aes Sedai you really see is Moraine, and the others only appear for like 1 or 2 moments. So you don't really know too much about them apart from the fact that they are the people with magic and stuff in the world, and you only really get a sense of them from other people's opinion of them, such as the wisdom in the two rivers and the white cloaks, who are another really interesting thing, but I'll come back to them. So I am really interested when we're actually finally going to see the rest of the Aes Sedai and get a bit more of an idea as to what they're about, and, you know, where Moraine fits in with the Aes Sedai. Because, you know, obviously she's kind of off on her own at the moment, so I'm just really curious as to see who she is within the context of the Aes Sedai and what the Aes Sedai are in the context of the wider world. The Whitecoats are really interesting. Like, they clearly, some of them go after Aes Sedai, and, you know, Moraine and her partner kind of, you know, hid from them and lied to them in the best way that they could. You know, that was a really interesting sort of plot point. You know, who are the Whitecoats? You know, what is their deal? Why are they going after the Aes Sedai, even though they then recommend people to go to them if they need help, kind of thing? Like, what's the deal there? I'm very curious. Is it a sort of grey area where they sort of judge some Aes Sedai in a sort of almost old-fashioned witch burning type idea, where it's perhaps, you know, they'll let off some of them but then they'll kill some of the others? Like, don't tell me, by the way, just feel I should point that out, please don't tell me. But I'm very curious to see what that whole plot point is. You know, they're definitely a threatening sort of force. You know, the way Moraine reacted to them and stuff, like, it was definitely freaky and things. And I think the guy that we saw, I don't know what his name is, who we saw interrogating that other Aes Sedai and just being, you know, really just quite disturbing, he's fascinating. I think the actor's done a fantastic job. He's just so unsettling with the sort of way he smiles, and it's just overly cheery when he's like, you know, literally chopped off somebody's fucking hands. Like, oh, absolutely nailed it, and I think he's just such an interesting character. The scenery is beautiful. Like, I've got to talk about the sort of shots in this show. Like, I'm just absolutely loving the setting and stuff and the way it's been filmed. You know, there's this one scene, there's this one shot where Rand is up on the mountains and it's like overlooking the huge valley with the mist, and honestly it's just such a gorgeous shot, and it really just reminded me of this time a few months ago where I was actually uphill climbing with my friend, and we were up quite high and we were up in the clouds and stuff, and like to the point where actually we could see the tips of some mountains above the clouds and stuff, and like just that sense of height and, you know, the being up in the clouds and stuff and the cold and stuff, it was just, I don't know, just that shot just reminded me of being up there so much. I was just like, oh, I could just feel like I was actually there with the characters. And everything I think is done in a sort of really believable way. Like, this feels like a breathing, you know, living, breathing world. It doesn't feel like a film set. It doesn't feel like, you know, a sort of zoomed in place. You know, it feels like everything exists within the wider world. So I think it's just been shot really well and in a very believable way. despite the fact that most of it so far has just been taking place in a lot of woods and stuff. And I'm really liking a lot of the sort of like medieval kind of Celtic-y inspired stuff with the two rivers and the costumes, and well as just some other bits and pieces, you know, I'm quite enjoying that. The deserted city that they end up in the second episode, such a cool setting, so spooky, oh my god. Like, you knew that was a freaky place before they set foot in the weird shit started happening. I just, you know, spooky things are happening, and, you know, then they're separated by the end of episode 2 as well, like, that's so cool. I want them all to be okay, because I'm actually quite attached to the characters already, so I just want them all to be alright, and I have so many questions as well, like, what is going on with Perrin? Is he injured? What's the shit with the wolves about? Are we going to find out? Hopefully soon. I have so many questions. Rand's dad as well. Because there was this shot when they were fighting the Trolloc where it lingered on this picture of like a heron or something on the sword. That was a lingering shot. That was deliberate. What's that about? I mean, my theory is that he's like he used to be what Moiraine's partner is to her, like, you know, one of the guys that like goes around with the Aes Sedai and protects them and stuff. Don't tell me if I'm right or wrong, like, just don't tell me, but that's my theory. And I have a feeling we're going to circle back to that because that was a deliberate lingering shot, and I have a feeling that that was there deliberately. I felt that the episodes introduced you to the characters really, really well. Like, I had no time discerning who was who and whose relationship with who was important and what the, you know, how everybody knew each other and stuff. Everyone was sort of, you know, written very uniquely in a very good way to sort of shut up. Just in a way that I you know, I didn't feel overwhelmed with the amount of characters that there were. There were a lot of characters, but they were all introduced really well and explored in a really easy way, to the point where, you know, I just, like I said, I didn't feel too overwhelmed with the number of people we were introduced to. And you definitely get a sense that they're all like good friends and stuff. Like, I thought that was done very well. They have got quite good chemistry between the four of them and things, so I thought that was quite interesting. I really liked the small community of the two rivers. You know, I'm actually from a village myself, you know, in the sort of middle of fuck off nowhere kind of thing. So I definitely just there was definitely that interesting sort of community aspect, and the sort of Beltane or Beltane or something celebrations that they have. You know, how the community comes together for that, and you know, and as well, like, the explanation as to what that was. I think one thing that this show seems to be doing quite well is explaining enough of the world building that a complete noob like me can understand what's going on without it being too expositional and without it being too confusing. You know, we're slowly getting drip fed how things work, but it's not too confusing and it's not too much of an exposition dump. That being said, the opening of the first episode is one hell of an exposition dump, which low-key I don't think we needed. You know, it starts with Moiraine and a voiceover explaining that she's looking for the Dragon Reborn. And personally, I just think it would have been so much better if we didn't know that, and she just turns up and is being really suspicious about people and stuff, and then at the end of the episode you find out why she came to the two rivers and what she's actually looking for. Like, I think it just would have, I don't know, adds something a bit more interesting to the first episode where there was actually a mystery as to what Moiraine is looking for, and then we get that explanation. Because, you know, the thing with the exposition dump that really irritates me is the fact that it does then get explained again to the characters later in the episode, so why have double the explanation for the audience? And it's interesting and an interesting thing though with the sort of Dragon Reborn is that the Aes Sedai that we see in the first sort of few minutes seem to be intent on like killing the person that they think is the Dragon Reborn, whereas Moiraine seems intent on finding them and protecting them. And I can't tell if it was just that particular group of Aes Sedai we were following, or that particular woman. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious to see what that's about, if that's what they were doing and stuff, or if they just had a problem with the fact that it was a man. If it's a woman, perhaps they will be more lenient or something. Like, I'm very curious as to sort of the inner politics of Aes Sedai, and whether there's like a difference between, like, you know, Moiraine dressed in blue and them dressed in red. You know, there seems to be, you know, a colour code for a reason and stuff, and I'm actually really curious to find out what that's going to be. Don't tell me, you know, let me experience this with the show, please, and how the show explains it and stuff, but I am curious to see what the little different colours mean. I found the pacing of the first episode to be a bit strange. Like, it did jump from person to person a little bit too much, you know, and with not enough time to let things breathe. Like, the editing in particular, it was just sometimes just a bit quick after something, and you kind of just want to just tell them, just give it like half a second and then move on, because then you'll get a bit more rhythm and stuff. So I did find that the first episode was a bit interesting to try and get into, but then I thought by second episode they kind of found their stride, which might be due to the fact that, you know, we're not jumping around from characters to characters, because Moiraine and her partner are now with Rand, Egwene, Perrin and the other guy whose name I don't know. So, you know, I did find that things kind of evened out. So I'm very curious as to what's going to happen in the next episode now that they've all been split again, if we're going to go back to that sort of jumping around and stuff. But yeah, I definitely felt that the pace upped itself. You know, they had a good balance between the action and the running away from the Trollocs versus the sort of quieter moments and the, you know, character moments and stuff. I definitely felt that they had a really good balance between the two, and they came at a good moment within the sort of rhythm of the episode. And I'm loving just the overall tension. Like, you know, they're being chased by the Trollocs, you know, no matter how far away they think they are, they catch up with them, sort of thing. You know, and the Trollocs are definitely like a menacing force. I'm loving that. The eyeless one as well, so fucking creepy. I love it. Such good character design. Like, it's so simple, but it's working so well. And also the look of like the Aes Sedai's magic and stuff is quite interesting. I'm not quite sure how I feel about the sort of slowing down, speeding up sort of, you know, between Moraine versus what's happening around her and stuff. That did look a little bit odd at times. And the things that they made poor Rosamund Pike do, like, it's one thing I always like find really funny when I'm watching shows that have magic in them, is watching what they make the actors do and stuff, you know, in real time, because they must feel so silly doing that with no music and no visual effects and stuff. I mean, obviously it looks really cool in the end result, but you know, making them go like this with a completely straight face, like, I always just admire them to be able to do that. Speaking of soundtrack, I love the soundtrack so far. Like, the vocal underlines of the score as well, those particular moments, I'm just absolutely loving. You know, I love soundtrack. My top artist of the year was the guy that does the Doctor Who soundtracks apparently, so that's how much I listen to soundtrack. And it was just, you know, everything has just like, it just works really well with the show. The fight scenes as well, I really like the music of the fight scenes and like the drama that it adds to them and stuff. You know, and I also liked the little song that they all sang when they were sort of on the road and things like. Yeah, that was just really cute, and I kind of hope that there's more like singing and songs and stuff, because especially from like small communities and stuff, particularly during the kind of time period that this is based on, you know, that was a huge thing and stuff, and I think it would be just really interesting if we saw more of that, so I'm hoping we get more songs. I think the fight scenes are really well choreographed, especially the first episode. Like, I found when the Trollocs attacked the village, you know, you definitely get a good sense of the chaos of everyone fighting for their lives. Like, these aren't trained soldiers or anything, these are just people grabbing what's nearest and trying to defend themselves, and you just definitely get such a good feel of how intense and scared and, you know, scared everybody is, and how they're just slashing and slashing and, like, you know, they're just trying to survive. None of this sort of, you know, fancy, well thought out footwork and stuff. Like, I just thought it was just really well choreographed and really well shot to the point where you know, you do feel the chaos and the fear that they're all feeling. Also, the fucking shock I got when Perrin accidentally kills his wife. What the fuck? Like, I mean, I wasn't too attached to her character because we saw her for like literally 2 scenes. So I kind of wish we'd spent a bit more time with her before she died, but holy shit, like, how's that gonna fuck poor Perrin up in the next couple of episodes? We shall see, because he's kind of keeping quiet about it for now, but like, yeah, that's gonna come up. Because I could tell they were gonna do something, especially when they kind of changed it to like, you know, he's like honestly almost like seeing red and things, so I was like, okay, he's gonna hurt somebody, but then he turned out and it freaking hurts his wife, and I was like, no, because I could tell something was going to happen, but I wasn't expecting it to be that, so yeah, that was really mean of them to do. You know, overall, just definitely introductory episodes, you know, we're getting introduced to things really well so far. I'm not lost, which I'm really appreciating. I understand enough about the world, the stakes, what Moraine's mission is, who the Aes Sedai are, what the sort of, you know, what our main character's thoughts are on things so far, you know. I'm liking the characters so far, you know, I can't wait to see how they're going to develop over the course of the series and then over the course of the books once I get to them. The world building's really good, you know, everything's just starting to roll and I'm really, really enjoying it. So as the first couple of episodes, you know, are really, really strong, and for a complete, you know, newbie to the world, you know, I think they've done a really good job so far. Couple of pacing issues, couple of exposition issues and stuff, but overall I think, yeah, it's a good series so far and I'm very excited to watch the rest of it. So episode 2 left on a cliffhanger. I'm gonna go watch that next, so I'm gonna come back and report back to you soon. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on the show so far. Please keep everything spoiler free. Don't even hint at anything, please. I know you want to. Don't tell me. I'm gonna find out because I'm gonna watch all the show and then I'm gonna read the books. So just, you know, let me experience things. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.